Good morning, everyone. This is John for MTG Nexus, coming at you with some new Modern today, specifically Bant Snow. This is my first time playing through it, so please be kind in the comments, especially on the YouTubes, about misplays, as I will try my best to endeavor to play this. So basically, this is blue-white control from the last several years with some Arcum's Astrolabes, some Icefang Coatls, and some Uros thrown into the mix. Ironically, Jeff Hooglin always talks about don't add a color to a deck without fixing the deck's problems. And historically, I've always had two issues when I've played blue-white control decks in Modern, and that is closing out the game and the lack of removal spells outside of Path to Exile. The Green Splash actually accomplishes both. Uro helps you to kind of close out the game fairly quickly. It's a reasonable clock when it's on the battlefield. It's a recursive threat. And Icefang Coatl doesn't really help close out the game quickly, but it replaces itself, and if you can meet the snow requirements, it becomes another pseudo-removal spell, enabling you to meet one of blue-white control's other kind of weak points, outside of Path to Exile, being able to get like a quick Tarmogoyf for a quick Death Shadow off the battlefield fairly effectively. Beyond that, you get to play a lot of the advantages of the blue-white mana base with Fields of Ruins and Mystic Sanctuaries, while kind of harmlessly running the third splash between the Astrolabe and the fetch lands you're running. So you're running a lot of snow-covered basics as a result of having to trigger Arcum's Astrolabe. You're also running 2 copies of Mystic Sanctuary, which pair quite nicely with Cryptic Command, obviously, or Archmage's Charm, or Path to Exile, or any other instant and sorcery in your deck. A couple copies of Supreme Verdict to clean things up. You got some Mana Leaks, Force of Negations, Archmage's Charms, Cryptic Commands to deal with problematic spells, and then obviously you have Jace, Teferi, and Little Teferi here to kind of wrap up your card advantage slash Planeswalker suite. Little Tef, obviously, this has been kind of changing the control games. Also makes it more difficult for your opponent to interact with you on their turn, or actually impossible. And then Jace and Teferi help close out the game in addition to Uro. This deck is a ridiculous amount of 2-for-1s. That's one of its biggest advantages in the current format, is just the fact that it is able to kind of grind people into dust, as well as backing that up with a bunch of counterspells. So if you have to force a negation yourself, pitching some random card early in the game, you often recoup that that card advantage rather quickly with all your 2-for-1s going on here. Sideboard addresses some various problems, some various things going on in the format. 2 copies of Ashiok. This card has been an all-star out of almost every deck that can play blue or black mana. Basically comes in against anything with graveyards, comes in against anything that searches their decks, so all the Valakut Dryad decks, all of the various Urza decks. Can also come in against the Mirror Match and against Jund when you're trying to shut down their particular graveyard interactions, either with Kroxa or with Uro. A whole lot of things this card does in the current meta. 2 copies of Ceremonious Rejection. This is one of the more narrow cards in the particular build that I saw that I wanted to try. This obviously hits E-Tron and regular Tron for the most part. 2 copies of Damping Sphere. This card's decent in some spots. Decent against Tron, decent against Amulet. I mean, it's not the shutdown card it used to be against Amulet, but it's still decent, especially when paired with Ashiok. It's also good in a pinch against decks like Storm and such, which can be a problem. 2 copies of Timely Reinforcements here, primarily here for burn and prowess, but also can come in a pinch against any other aggressive deck. 2 copies of Veil of Summer, because this card is just absurd against anything with blue and black mana usually. 1 copy of Celestial Purge to have another removal spell against red and black decks, so allows you to tag a Liliana of the Veil that might slip through your counter spells. Allows you to have another removal spell against prowess and such. 2 copies of Stony Silence. I'm not a huge fan of this now that I'm actually seeing this in the list, but it does have some applications against against Stoneblade decks, and also against any type of Urza deck can be pretty reasonable. And then 2 copies of Surgical Extraction as additional graveyard hate, and a way to blow up Tron, which is kind of had a resurgence with your 4 copies of Field of the Ruin. That said, let's hop into a league and see how we can do this morning. Yeah, this deck is interesting to look at. On the surface, in some ways, it shares a lot with the Sultai Delirium deck with what it's trying to accomplish with card advantage and such. But I think it's a completely different style of deck trying to leverage Uro. Obviously, Delirium being a Pioneer deck. The reason I don't think I liked Delirium is not only did you pair a very slow clock with having to line up specific answers with specific threats. I think that deck also suffers from issues of a slow clock. This one can kind of counteract that a little bit with counter spells. I don't think this hand's a keep. Well, the hand itself overall is good. The mana is just terrible with double Field of Ruin, Misty Rainforest, so I'm pretty sure this is a mulligan. This hand feels a lot better. Probably put back... What am I putting back here is the question mark. Definitely a keep. What's more likely to be relevant? Supreme Verdict or Cryptic Command? I guess we'll put back Verdict. Kind of go from there. Draw more islands. Sure. So, possibly Storm. This isn't the best setup hand to challenge Storm with exactly. Go ahead and grab Breeding Pool here. Doesn't particularly matter. Do I grab Breeding Pool or do I grab Temple Garden? I guess we'll grab Breeding Pool. I guess Mana Leak kind of changes the equation here. I think we'll just hold up Mana Leak here then. The problem is if I go to try to tap out for any threats here, I'm just kind of playing into their game plan. But the longer the game we play against a deck like Storm, the more they have a chance to sculpt their hand, especially without a card like Force of Negation in our hand. So am I just supposed to... I think we're supposed to wait one more turn, hope to draw another land. We get Snapcaster Mage into play at the end of turn. See what happens exactly. Let's run out Snapcaster Mage. Possible I was just supposed to get Sanctuary there. So the problem is if I don't counter this, then they untap and I already have the kit. If I do counter this and they untap and kill us anyway, still think I'm supposed to go ahead and counter this. Wanted to grab Mystic Sanctuary there to put mana leak it back on top. That's why I shouldn't have fetched. Damping Sphere is pretty good against them. Ashiok's okay against them. Surgical could come in against them. Sure. Okay. I don't have any counter spells written out anyway, so of course we draw the path now. Okay. So they already have 2 rituals in their hand, or they've already played 2 rituals, I should say. So they're definitely not getting the rituals. And I guess we see if they have the mana to go off from here. All right. was a little bit awkward with the way I've tapped it, so. Still a decent chance we're dead this turn. Roll into whatever. Yep, we're just dead. That, as they say, is a deterministic kill. Yep. Definitely want Ashiox, definitely want Damping Spheres. Surgical extractions are maybes. It's really kind of hard to just extract their particular cards they care about. Supreme Verdict, probably want to leave one in. Path is okay in certain numbers. Probably shave an Uro. It's possible we don't want surgical. Because, like, what are we actually surgicaling that they haven't already put in the graveyard? It's just like shaving a surgical, shave a coatl. Thing with a deck like Storm is they operate on different axes than most decks do, so it's kind of hard to for the traditional avenues of control hate to beat them necessarily. Like obviously if we'd found another Force of Negation or a Archmage's Charm, or if I hadn't screwed up and put that Mystic Sanctuary or put Mystic Sanctuary into play to get back Mana Leak at some point, we would have had more defense against what they were trying to do. So, little things can cost you against a deck like Storm, but I don't think our clock was substantial enough that we were necessarily going to get there. Maybe I was supposed to play Uro more aggressively. This hand, man, is just too awkward, unfortunately. This hand's a lot better. Question becomes, what are we putting back? Probably one of the paths. This forces them to answer Damping Sphere. We have a Force of Negation and Path to disrupt what they're doing. So... Hand's a little bit awkward. Like the hands without Astrolabes, the mana gets hecka awkward. Keep put back a path. think someone forgot to shut the notifications off on their phone, and it was not me. I keep hearing blah. I'm gonna fetch probably Hallowed Fountain. If we actually need a green source, we can always use Field of Ruin. Yay, another Path to Exile, which I really didn't want. Ideally, you only want like one path, maybe two throughout a game. Of course they have the answer to it. Apparently our opponents faced a few too many damping spheres over the months. This is giving them access to gifts I'm given. Sure. Okay. Sure, just have all the remands, why don't you? Curious to see which one they take. already had an Aria Flame in hand. Okay. Just letting that happen since we know they have the Dispel in hand. Don't want to wish that back to the top. So let's put the shields down. But we were only going to have one counter spell this turn regardless, so. There's another Aria Flame. This gives us mild protection from the situation. I think we've now seen all of their copies of Aria Flame. Yep. Go ahead and path that. This is the top card. We've already drawn all the cards that were on the top of our deck, so. Give our deck a good shuffle. Like, I could bounce something, but what am I even drawing to? Both of my Force of Negations are in the graveyard. All I literally have right now is a Path to Exile, so. Okay. Mana Leak's definitely not great in this spot, but at least it's something, right? Mana Leak, Coatl Verdict. Verdict, Teferi. Spell Pierce, huh? I brought in a bunch of counter spells, huh? So their hands Dispel and 2 unknowns. Almost feels like they brought in too many counter spells. Sure. Got 2 copies of Shenanigans? No, they must have dredged it back at some point. That was a nice one here. Guess we can afford to put back to Fairy and a Mana Leak. So 1, 5, 7, 8, 9. If I Uro, that leaves me with 6 mana. Should have fetched and put a counter spell back on top. Put a Force of Negation back on top. Alright, Archmage's Charm is nice. Back. No covered island. And Verdict for now. Feels like I should be Uroing just to increase the clock here. Alright, so let's start by Uroing. It was actually a little bit stretched out because of green, blue. into play. That one can go to the bottom of the library. Oop, I want to go directly into play. Okay, guess I'm pitching path here. Sure. Yep. It's a goblin's kind of turn. No, one of the two cards in their hands is Dispel. Okay. And they concede the game. Cool. So in light of all those counter spells, am I interested in bringing in Veil of Summer? I don't think so. It's certainly possible I'm supposed to be bringing in Veil here. Doesn't look like they have the green splash for Veil themselves. Definitely supposed to bring in Purge. Just because it answers their Aria of Flames in addition to everything else they had going on. I think one surgical's fine. I think being able to answer a Aria Flame if I've already countered it and get all three out of their deck. Still like the one Verdict to clean up whatchamacallit tokens. I think it's just supposed to be another path here. Looks like they may not even have that many dorks left in their deck, and looks like they might be on the Aria Flame plan, so shenanigans definitely hurt a little bit there, but at least we're able to power through that. Though I do wonder how they do beat a turn 2 Dampening Sphere. This hand... I mean, we have a Purge for Aria Flame. We have a turn 3 Teferi, but we have nothing else. Is that good enough? I guess with a mulliganing, we'll try it. Certainly a hand that could come back to that maybe needs to be mulliganed more aggressively towards hate. It's to 5. Archmage's Charm is decent, except we don't have a third blue source right now. Alright, just hold up Archmage's Charm here. Astrolabe's not terrible here. Let's just get a little bit of momentum while still holding up Charm. Okay. I think I was actually supposed to counter that since I can't. Let's start with some information. Yeah, I shouldn't have let that resolve. Should not have just clicked through letting that resolve. That remand is going to be very, very problematic. The rest of our hand's too clunky. Presuming we're just going to remand this. I guess their hand, as it's currently comprised, maybe can't go off from here. So they're going to try. Of course they drew the Manamorphose. Yep, because I goofed and let that brawl just resolve when I had the Archmage's Charm up. Twas a punt, and I deserved to lose there. Sounds reasonable. That's mulliganing pretty aggressively, so I would guess Tron or Dredge, but I guess we'll find out. Still could be Dredge. Looking for lands, so I didn't play the fetch land instead. Yep, definitely feels like Dredge. Stop during the upkeep, cast Haggle. Oh, interesting. Okay, well, it's definitely Dredge. Alright, pass turn. What am I grabbing here? Try to slow down their development a little bit. Of course, they have land anyway. I'm just going to Coatl and Path here. Trade with the amalgams, it's a little bit harder to bring back. Path the Bloodghast. No, our opponent has loam. Yep. So do they currently have... Okay, so they don't currently have anything in the graveyard that I particularly care about. In terms of, like... There's a blood gas, that's annoying. Conflagrate, that's also annoying. It's kind of the card I was hoping they would not hit this turn. Of course, they're just casting Conflagrate right away. Buys me a turn. Obviously, this leaves us open to them hitting a bunch of blood ghasts. I think there's already one in exile, right? You've already hit 2 creeping chills. What are we even hoping for at this point? Hoping they mill themselves out and then punk them out with Archmage's Charm? Oh, never mind. They just have another Conflagranate in the yard. Okay. Alright. We want Surgicals. We want Ashioks. Probably want Timelies and Purge. Teferi is not particularly relevant against them, usually. Force can be an okay in some spots. Path can be okay in some spots. Probably shave an Uro, a Jace. Try it like that. I'd love to play first. This hand literally doesn't do anything unless their first play is like a Cathartic Reunion. This hand's a little bit better, not great. But I don't know the fairies. Sure. I was about to say, are they going to try to punk us with an turn haggle, hoping we'd That's a pretty good one. Do I encounter this one? All right. There's about everything going right for us. Still think I like about where our setup is. This hand is not great by any means, but it has multiple path to exile, so I don't think we can turn it down. Love to hit like a surgical here. Sure. Okay, got another Narcomoeba. Yep, there's a Cathartic. Put you alone. There's the Bloodghast. Pass through the turn, holding up Archmage's Charm. Take the hit for 4. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does that particularly matter? No, just let that go. I mean, in some ways it matters. Like, I think we're losing this game if we don't top deck well next turn, but definitely trying to set us up for the conflag kill. At least one conflaggery in that yard right now. Conflagrate for 2. Sure. To find like a surgical or an Ashiok or something here. life total get too low here. Because now both conflagrates in the art are lethal. And that creeping chill is as well. Alright. So should have won match 1, or at least had a better chance of winning match 1 if I would have Archmage's Charm the Brawl. And then that match, I think I need to be a little bit more aggressive, mulliganing for a little bit more early interaction. I don't think a typical control hand's just enough to control Dredge, unfortunately. But it's one of the things when you're playing an archetype for the first time is identifying what mistakes and trying to improve upon them. So, I want to thank everybody for joining us so far this morning, and those of you checking us out on YouTube later. As a friendly reminder, if you like what you're seeing on the channel, please consider giving us a follow here on Twitch, and consider giving us a subscribe over on YouTube. As we mostly play Modern with a little bit of Pioneer here mixed in on the channel. Especially right now, we're mainly focusing on Jund and Burn. Put a poll up last night to see if people wanted to see Bant Snow or Jund this morning. Bant Snow ended up winning the poll, so here we are. Tron. So I think I'm going to go ahead and concede the game and move on with my life. And sideboard against them, knowing what they're on, without them knowing what we're on. And Stony Silence can come in here. And Ceremonious Rejection can come in here. And Damping Sphere can come in here. And Ashiok, usually do miss their searching before Ashiok's relevant. So Spring Verdicts can come out. I guess a Teferi can come out. No, they play. They might have a good inclination that we're on. Might have a good inclination that we're on control. So, cut an Uro, cut a Coatl, cut a Teferi. Try it like this. I mean, that hand wasn't being a good drawn hand in a million years, so. This hand's okay. Like, it's risky. Like, we have the awkward combination of Stony Silence and Arkham's Astrolabe. Now the question becomes, do I hold up Ceremonious Rejection turn 1, or do I play Astrolabe? I guess because I'm winning lands anyway. I might just lose now. Yep. Kept the hand on the basis of hoping to draw a land there and missed. Yep. Since I'm tapping out for Stony Silence right now. They're going to get us with a Thrag Tusk. Alright, that's not bad. You have Nature's Clone. So I think I'm supposed to Uro here. I mean, now we at least have the chance of playing a fish game. And getting their 6th land unlocks so much of their deck. I want to get some information before I decide if I'm going to Karn, Titan. So that was a bait spell. Okay. Did they correctly guess what we're on? Not really. They kind of hedged a little bit. They've got a lot of big boom booms over there. No Veil of Summer, fortunately, in their deck currently. I'm going to surgical that. Let the... So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That'd be land drop number 8. Yeah, just let that resolve then. Yeah, Blasting Zone, which is obviously mildly annoying. Two, three, four, five. Mystic Sanctuary, put Rejection back on top. Yep. Turn target opponent to its owner's hand. Draw a card. Sure. I just really care about Oblivion Stone here. Question is, what am I pitching here at this point? The Jace? Pack that and that for now. Play the land. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they can play Karn at this point. So definitely want to hold up projection this turn. Time to start jamming bombs, I guess. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's extremely annoying for them to have drawn. To pressure their life total a little bit. 4, 5, 6, 8. So now they have Titan, Karn, 1 unknown. Just continue to press. I need to start pressuring their life total. So they can charge up and cast 1, 2, 3, 4. So that gives them access to 3, 6, 6. 6 plus 8, so 14. So they can double Karn this turn. I guess I could have cryptic to bounce Uro. Field of Ruin would be nice if they didn't already have like double everything in play. So play this. Do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Grab Mystic Sanctuary. Put Cryptic back on top of our deck. Already played one spell. Yeah, let's just pass turn. Awkward. So I guess we can actually surgical. No, let's do that during our draw step. For right now, let's play Teferi. Bounce the Astrolabe. Like, and during our draw step, we can surgical Karn and still cast Cryptic Command. Not to attack there, but I don't think it's particularly relevant right now. Surgical. Wow, that was a pretty good hit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Another Ulamog in hand, which is mightily annoying. So we have Ulamog and Sundering Titan. Exile is reasonable. Maybe I shouldn't have let that Uro go earlier. Expedition map. Yep. I don't think they have a second blast zone, so I'm not sure I particularly care. Sanctum, yeah, that one's pretty annoying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. We could just pop Sanctum here, though. Just on their land, right? So we're going to get Ulamog here, most likely. Ulamog's effectiveness is kind of questionable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's where they take out Quaddle and... Don't they take out? Sure. Let's let that go. Path him, or it, I should say. And they have Sundering Titan in hand, so it's not like they don't have something going on here. Field of Ruin, sure. Sure. Okay, sure. Sure. Okay. Put back these, play the fetch land, play Teferi. Actually, we're not playing Teferi this turn. Cancel. Sold up a billion counter spells, pass the turn. Yep. So 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. I have not yet played a land this turn, so let's start by fetching, because I'm curious how many. Okay, so I can't actually counter both right now. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oblivion Stone resolves. Sure. know one of their cards in the hand is a Sundering Titan. The other one, I'm not quite sure about right now. So, really? Yeah. Hmm. What is our hope even at this point? Alright. What a interesting league. I think we'll play one more match, see where that goes. So, thought process on that match. It's possible I was supposed to reject the O Stone there. I was so concentrated on Sundering Titan. I still don't think we were being that Kozilek either way, but hand's fine. Keep. Okay. Sure. Either one of the Path to Exiles or our other Astrolabs going. I guess let's give them some pause about what we drew here. Okay, so Jund it is. We'll draw an extra card. Okay, so they're probably losing Teferi here. So some Jund draws this is good against, other Jund draws, like if they have a run at 6 game plan, where not quite as good because koalas are a little bit vulnerable to run in 6, but okay, what do you do with Liliana here? Get a little bit more info before we discard. I think it's just Temple Garden here, right? Alright, come on, friend. You don't have anything going on here. Just let me attack your Liliana. With that, I'll plan on pitching the Mystic Sanctuary here. Sure. Give ourselves a draw step. Teferi's a pretty decent draw here. Grab a Mystic Sanctuary here, put a path back on top. Continue to pressure Liliana a little bit. Well, it's unfortunate we don't have Death Touch with the Path Exiles. I guess it doesn't matter quite as much. I just lost my Teferi here for no value. Need to be more mindful of my mana situations with this deck. Sure. They're attacking me. Okay. Interesting. So whatever that last card is in hand, they seem to like it a lot. So let us start by casting this. Cryptic Command, huh? And Cryptic Command's about as good as we got here. Have answer to a creature, answer to the land, answer to a spell. Feels like a Bloodbraid Elf to me. Do I even care about Teferi here? That gets a concession. Interesting. Purge, Veil, maybe Ashiok. So like Kroxa is one of Jun's big threats at this point. Tarmogoyf is, but Ashiok doesn't really hit them. Like, their big plans against us are land boil, choke, that kind of stuff. So I don't know that Ashiok actually plays into that game plan. I think our main deck's pretty well set up against Jund. Like, they could bring in their own Ashioks against us, but that's a lot of 3-mana plays. But, like, obviously, looking at the last game, if they go like Thoughtseize into Inquisition into Choke, we're in a lot worse shape than like Thoughtseize into Inquisition into Liliana with the Coatls we had, etc. So Force of Negation's a necessary evil specifically because of those situations. Question is, how many do we want to leave in? 2 or 3? I think the amount we have is fine. We'll keep this hand. Again, problem is, like, against John, you can't, like, keep the... Can't mulligan aggressively for, like, counter spells when they have discard spells in rather abundance. Can't cast Path currently, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. We can always Field of Ruin for planes if we have to. Why would you shock in here? That's kind of bizarre. Sure. Just gonna bluff a counter spell. I don't want them feeling free to just like slam choke here. Like the awkward situation we're in, we have no counter spells. If our opponent lands a choke or a boil, we're just dead either way, so it's whatever. Misty into play, pass turn. Yep, running 6 is a thing. Get to Croxa again. I think we pitch Field of Ruin here. So even if we put the fetch land in the graveyard, that's only 4 other cards. It takes 5 to escape, so maybe this was no, the Field of Ruin would be the same. If I would have pitched Sanctuary and kept Field, I guess we could have this turn. Yep. That's being very cavalier with our life total. Sure. Sure. I think we just have to snap path. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Should have blocked with a snappy here. Quaddle's a nice one. Okay. I have some alarm bells currently going off, so alright, well, let's try for a one-timer here. Okay. Our best plan is just to try to punk them out. Okay. So I'm presuming we're going to bring back Croxa. Sure. We have forward going to 7 here.
We're just dead here, pretty much. But at least making our opponent go through the motions. So they attack with both, put us to 2. Ping us with Ren, and puts us to 1, and we can't activate our fetch land. If they play this incorrectly and... Okay. I have to take the opportunity to get a basic island here. We're going to get Croxed, and then I don't even know what we're hoping to draw from here. Alright, so we were just dead either way. Alright. Boil is a card. Still don't think any of the other cards on our sideboard make sense. Play for game number 3. That's a mess of a hand. Gonna put back here Cryptic for now. Question is, am I supposed to get Forest here, or... Okay. Discard spell. Nope, no discard spell. Okay. Force of negation makes life so much easier. To fairy. Yep. Probably have to take Force of negation here.
So annoying. Use the land, choke or boil. We're not in terrible shape, right? Force is a pretty nice draw. Okay. So is there anything for 2 mana that we particularly care about? I don't think so. I think I just take the opportunity and force this mana-wise. Yeah, Tarmogoyf we don't particularly care about here. Doesn't matter. Round 6. Annoying. Okay. Sure, get back into their land. Please play your magic. Okay. Okay. Flashing Coatl, please let me draw land. Come on. What you got over there, friend? Cool. Really, that pillage really kind of got us good. I think I was just supposed to play Teferi there. Sure. Master's fine. Don't particularly care about it. What I really want is another land. Start by casting Coatl. This game feels like if we ever hit another land that we're good. Get a response. Wow, can I get a land, please? Like, is a land too much to ask for out of my deck? Sure. Bloodbraid, sure. Alright, there is conceivably good here. How do I not hit a land drop? Like, legitimately. How am I not hitting land drops? We force pitching arrow here. They boil us, we're in trouble. Boil or choke us, we're in trouble anyway, so. What you got, friend? Alright. So, once again, attacking run 6. You ever get the feeling they're trying to set up for boil here? Sure. Now I can't cryptic commands. Maybe that was incorrect, but why would you go after my lands quite that aggressively? Presume you have a boulder push here then? I mean, if they have boil, they have boil. I can't play around it at this point. I have to get islands. Please don't boil me, bro. I have no reason to make a move at this point. Counter target spell, draw a card. Do you have boil? You do not. Okay. Force of negation, back on top of my deck. Play it to fairy. Draw force of negation. Game is over. Alright, Bloodbraid's something that can get them back into the game. to continue to green. Boom. All right. Wow. Wowzers, wowzers, wowzers. So, quick wrap up this morning. I'll probably play the final league off camera and maybe include it in the YouTube version. But, yeah, small mistakes cost us. I should have countered my opponent's brawl against Storm. Against, what was round number 2? Round number 2, I don't remember. Tron. I guess I should have ceremoniously rejected the O-Stone. I think we would have had a chance then. And then, what was round number 2? Also, it was a close-ish matchup. I think there was 1 or 2 decisions that could have swung things the other way. I don't remember. Basically, I think this deck requires a little bit more mindfulness of your mana situation, your Arkham's Astrolabes, etc. Because the mana base itself inherently is pretty greedy. So I think it requires a little bit more massaging than I initially gave it credit for. Beyond that, I mean, the deck's obviously very powerful. We were probably 1 or 2 better decisions away on my part from being 2-2 or possibly even 3-1 so far in this league. But, yeah, deck's definitely a different exercise. So, feels very powerful, feels very strong. You know, I like the differences between it and blue-white control. There's not really an issue like I had with Sultai Delirium about closing out games, about making the correct decisions, etc. I think the counter spells, especially with Force of Negation, feel a lot better than like some random discard spell thrown into a Sultai midrange deck that Sultai Delirium in Pioneer has. But so it's definitely a deck that takes a little bit of getting used to, especially when it's like so far out of the realm of what you normally play with like Burn and Jund. So, anywho, this is going to be wrapping up the stream this morning. I need to go get ready for work. So I hope everybody has a great day. This has been John for MTG Nexus, both on Twitch and on YouTube.